An old man is sitting by the docks when he notices a bus parked nearby and something smoking inside. The next second, the bus explodes in a ball of fire. We are then taken to a boxing match where newcomer Ran Tachibana is to face off against a seasoned fighter. The first round kicks off, and Ran immediately overpowers the other fighter with a flurry of punches. Then, a clean hit sends her crashing to the floor for a first-round knockout. The president praises Ran's fighting spirit, thinking she would be perfect for mixed martial arts, but her manager wants her to get better at boxing first. Ran lives in her boxing gym, away from her family and her sister Yuzuki, who stays with her aunt for school. After training one day, Ran gets a phone call and frantically rushes over to the coroner's office where Ran's remains were found burnt to a crisp inside the bus that exploded. They could only identify her from her ID as her body was badly burnt. What makes it worse, the cops think that she ended her own life by filling the bus with deodorizing spray and then lighting a fire. Ran refuses to believe that her sister would end herself, but the cops insist, even showing Ran the DNA test they ran. The cops go to cover the body when Ran notices that the teeth do not match Yuzuki's, insisting that this is not her sister. The cops have heard enough, reminding her about the DNA test, but Ran refuses to believe this and storms out. Afterwards, Ran gets into a fight with her aunt and uncle over not telling her sooner about Yuzuki. Her uncle then coldly wishes that they could get insurance money from Yuzuki's death, noting that she was a troublemaker, but Ran stands up to him and calls him out for keeping Yuzuki for welfare money, which he only used for gambling. Ran goes to meet with her coach. She remembers a month ago when Yuzuki surprised her in the middle of training. Ran had noticed an injury on her face, which was caused by their drunk uncle throwing stuff at Yuzuki. Ran apologized and promised to get them both an apartment once she has saved up enough money. After that day, Yuzuki had stopped answering her phone and Ran regrets not spending more time with her. Her coach notices her worried state and suggests that she take a break and clear her head. Ran returns to her aunt's place to collect Yuzuki's things when she notices a strange card with the word Hunin. She tracks down the address on the card, which leads her to a club with the same name. The card turns out to be a key into the club, and Ran enters where she sees an empty club with people cleaning up. She introduces herself wanting information, but the men begin throwing her out, ignoring her pleas. Realizing she is getting nowhere, she fights off the first set of men before demanding of their superior, a massive man named Kido, information. Kido laughs at Ran and attacks her, throwing her around before choking her out. Ran is drugged by the men, but is saved by a young man who works at the club named Naruse. He knows she is looking for Yuzuki and shows her surveillance footage of Yuzuki inside Hunin Club 3 days after her supposed death, along with a top executive of the Hunin group named Azuma. Naruse thinks that Yuzuki must be important to the group as they faked her death. Naruse then explains that the Hunin group is a famous and powerful organization made up of members of powerful Japanese families, and the club Ran entered was their exclusive lounge. The two head into town where they can see the building, and Naruse tells her about the Hunin Group's garage, an underground fighting club featuring the best fighters around the world. Naruse's father also worked alongside the group hosting fights, however, he was soon found dead in a river. He knows the Hunin Group is responsible and has been working tirelessly to destroy them from within. We then see the top executive of the Hunin Group meeting to choose their new president. Their most infamous member, a dangerous man named Haruki Nikaido, soon joins them, bringing tension among the men. After the meeting, Vice President Saikiro comes to meet with him, coldly telling him he will never be a candidate for president. It turns out that Haruki was once a champion in the garage who rose to executive of the group and director of the garage. Haruki ignores Saikiro's insults, and he leaves, telling Haruki to continue making money for them. Ran brings the recent photos of Yuzuki to the police, hoping to reopen her case, but lead detective Oishi calls her evidence illegally obtained, implying that the images could also be fakes. He ignores Ran's pleas, saying the case is already closed, so she gives up trying and leaves. That night, Ran packs her things and leaves the gym, leaving a note for her manager which he sees in the morning. At the station, Detective Suzuki is interested in the evidence that Ran brought and learns that the person who was in charge of the case's forensics was recently transferred. Haruki gets video footage of Ran's fight in the club and learns about her boxing skills. He is watching a live stream of a fight, noting that viewership has been decreasing lately and gets an idea. He goes to meet with his champion Kido, telling him that he needs to make the fights more exciting. Haruki wants to test his skills against Kido, who refuses nervously, but Haruki warns that he will kill him if he doesn't. A scared Kido attacks but is quickly beaten back and choked out. Saikiro comes down to the garage, covering his shoes to avoid getting blood on his kicks. He notes that the garage does make the company a lot of money, but the repulsiveness is getting to him. He has heard about Haruki acquiring a large plot of land in the suburbs and warns him not to open another garage or else, but Haruki simply thanks him for the warning. At a mechanic shop, a young mechanic named Shun is working when some men roll up on a bike hoping to sell it. Shun checks it out but realizes that the bike is stolen. He refuses to pay, and as the men are about to leave, Shun confronts them. The men attack him, but Shun reveals his skills and beats the men down, sending them packing. Ran then shows up, and it turns out they're old lovebirds. She tells him what is happening with Yuzuki and asks for a place to stay, revealing that she quit the gym until she finds her sister. Shun reveals that he still cares for Ran and wants her to leave things up to the cops, but Ran reveals that the cops will do nothing to help. Shun brings her to an old bus he converted into a small apartment, and she gets settled in. Meanwhile, Naruze manages to track down Azuma. Inside the bus, Ran finds a pair of brass knuckles and becomes fond of them. She and Shun sit for dinner where she explains that she is waiting for Naruze's call. Naruze has started to tail Azuma and contacts Ran, who takes off on her bike. She meets Naruze at a location where Azuma is buying illicit substances to distribute. Naruze thinks they should continue tailing him, but Ran is impatient and heads inside where she sees gangsters disposing of bodies. She stumbles upon Azuma meeting with a dealer and tries to capture video, but she is found by a man who alerts the others. Ran tries to escape the men but gets cornered and is forced to fight. She brawls her way through the endless stream of men and is about to be cornered when Shun turns up and takes them on, skillfully taking out the gangsters. Turns out Naruze also has hands, and he joins in the fight taking on fighters. As they fight, Azuma manages to ambush and slash Ran. He strikes again, but this time Ran stops the blade with the brass knuckles. She barely manages to avoid his strikes and he almost gets the upper hand until Shun tackles him and they knock him out. More men are on the way so the trio quickly escape. Detective Suzuki then learns from Detective Kanako that the body presented as Yuzuki's was indeed a fraud. It turns out that Yuzuki has the rarest blood type on Earth, Rh null, also called golden blood. Suzuki plans to investigate further, but Kanako is scared and refuses to dig any deeper. At the garage, Shun reveals that he found Ran by tracking the bike she took. Shun again tries to talk Ran out of her plans, but she gets upset with him thinking he does not care about Yuzuki. We then see Azuma being scolded by Haruki for being defeated and losing some men. Also, there is Oishi and Haruki threatens to have him replaced if he cannot do his job. Oishi nervously promises to take care of the problem, so Haruki orders him to kill Ran immediately. Oishi hesitates, unable to answer, so Haruki slices into his stomach and smears his blood on his face. Haruki then orders Azuma to bring him Ran so he can have her fight in his arena. Naruze turns up at the garage bringing Azuma's cell phone where they copy his data. Ran then gets a call, telling her that she will be allowed to see her sister on the condition that she returns the phone and the data. Wasting no time, Ran turns up to the meeting location where she hands over the phone and is directed to Azuma. Ran demands to see Yuzuki, but Azuma coldly tells her she must first have a rematch against Kido at the garage. Azuma then tells her to turn around, and in a van nearby is Yuzuki, which speeds away with Ran chasing after it. Azuma then pulls up, warning Ran to show up to the garage in 2 weeks for the fight, and if she calls the cops, they will return Yuzuki's head in a box. Shun thinks accepting the offer is a bad idea, thinking that the men won't kill Yuzuki so easily, but Naruze tells her to accept, as they can steal more information to use against the group if she is inside. Shun confronts Naruze for enabling Ran's reckless behavior and putting her career at risk, but Ran stops him, as she sees no point in boxing if Yuzuki is not by her side, and accepts the fight. Meanwhile, Detective Suzuki has tracked down Ran's old gym, and the manager begs him to bring her back safely. As Suzuki leaves, he is confronted by Naruze who asks to speak with him about Yuzuki's case. Ran starts working out, punching the concrete wall with her brass knuckles, but Shun starts antagonizing her, warning her that she won't be able to beat Kido by boxing. He decides to help her train using common items from around the junkyard and pushing her body to the limit. After a week and a half of intense training, Shun gifts Ran a fighting outfit to wear during her match. We then see Haruki having a doctor extract blood from Yuzuki, using the unique blood as a biometric lock for his accounts. Naru's is with Detective Suzuki. He is able to pull the layout for the Hunin club but convinces Suzuki not to report it as the company has contacts within his department. The two then decide to break into the company alone and enter through the vents. Meanwhile, Ran and Shun enter through the front for her match. The two meet Azuma, who leads them to the garage. Ran warns him not to hurt Yuzuki, but Azuma thinks she won't talk tough for much longer. Naru's and Suzuki make it to the server room and quickly defeat the men posted there. They get to the servers and Naru's begins to copy all the data there. Shun prepares Ran for her fight, reminding her of her training and believing that she can win. She is announced to a packed arena with Kido glaring at her from across the room. With Haruki observing from his office, the match kicks off. Ran faces Kido with her knuckle busters, and they begin to trade strikes, testing each other out. Ran is fast, but once Kido grabs her, she is sent flying into the cage. She manages to take hold of Kido's neck, then his arm, but gets slammed into the floor by his strength. Kido then pins Ran, about to break her arm and taunting her, but Ran gathers her strength and breaks free. She begins hitting the big Kido with some quick strikes before dropping him by jumping off the cage. Haruki and the crowd are shocked as Ran begins to beat Kido's face in, but Shun's voice finally gets through to her, and she stops. Detective Suzuki manages to steal a hard drive from the server room, but as he escapes, Oishi holds a gun to his head. Suzuki reminds Oishi that they're cops, but Oishi shoots him dead. Haruki then walks into the ring, ordering Ran to kill Kido, but she refuses and demands Yuzuki. Haruki then pulls a katana and kills Kido, calling him useless. Ran attacks Haruki but he pins her arm, telling her the game is not over, and seeing her fight makes him want to take her on. Oishi gets to the server room and pulls his gun looking for Naru's, but gets a call that the cops are on their way. Haruki also gets the news and leaves, ordering his men to kill both Ran and Shun. Naru's gets to them, and the three then attempt to escape but get surrounded by a team of men. The three jump into action, defeating the men while protecting Ran until they finally manage to escape. Vice President Saikiro arrives afterward, ordering that Yuzuki's name be released to the media. Soon news that the three friends are wanted for the murder of Kido begins to circulate. A young detective Hanada hears the news and confronts Oishi about his involvement, telling him to turn himself in, but he storms out. He is walking along the street when someone bumps into him, and soon Oishi is struggling to breathe and collapses dead. The assassin was sent by Azuma, who is glad to hear the news. The three friends get help from Ran's coach, who hides them out in his shed and brings them food. Haruki meets with Saikiro, who has killed some of his men and has a man hold a gun to his head. Saikiro reveals that he has found out Haruki's plan to steal the late president's accounts and using Yuzuki's blood to secure it. Standing beside Saikiro is Azuma, who has revealed all of Haruki's plans. Haruki swiftly kills the man holding the gun to him. Saikiro pulls his own gun, but Azuma kills him with a blade, revealing everything to be a trap to take out Saikiro. Naru's finds out about Yuzuki's blood being used as a security system for the garage's main account. However, he is able to freeze the account, preventing the cash from being moved. Shun hears a noise outside and goes to check when he is suddenly attacked by masked men. He manages to lock Ran and Naru's inside to keep them safe while he fights off the men. Shun gets stabbed and sliced up multiple times, and Ran and Naru's break out to see him bleeding out. Ran holds him in her arms, bawling, and Shun tells her he hoped he helped before he passes out in her arms. Shun is admitted to the hospital, and Ran gets Azuma's location. Azuma returns to his car only to see his driver dead. Ran ambushes him and holds a gun to his head. She has him call Haruki, wanting to make a deal and revealing that she has frozen his account. She demands Yuzuki in return for the code, and Haruki gives her his location. Ran arrives holding Azuma at gunpoint and comes face to face with Yuzuki and Haruki, but Azuma manages to disarm her. Ran shows him the code, willing to make a trade for her sister, but Haruki wants to fight her, wanting to test his skills against her. Azuma takes Yuzuki, so Ran is forced to put on her brass knuckles. Ran attacks, but Haruki just begins to brutally beat her down, evading all her strikes easily. Yuzuki cries as she watches Haruki beat Ran bloody. Haruki has had enough and orders Azuma to finish Ran off, but Yuzuki fights for the gun and manages to let off shots, hitting Haruki. Ran gathers her strength and crawls over to Haruki, but cannot bring herself to finish him off. Ran finally manages to reunite with Yuzuki just as the cops come barging into the arena and arrest Haruki.
Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more movies like this. Thanks for watching.